What's up, guys? If you caught our podcast yesterday, I want you to know that I'm thinking about you and I'm excited about all of the new ideas that we're sharing with authority and branding and growing and scaling your business. So I wanted to just drop an episode here on the 7-step formula for business growth and business mastery. This is a 7-step formula I shared a while back. It's one of the core frameworks that I use with all of our high net worth clients. And it goes through the 7 steps that you need in order to truly grow your business and your life for that matter. It goes through mindset, strategy, marketing, sales, growth strategies, technology and people, and money. And it's really the best core framework I could have to give you to grow your business. And so this combined with the episode we did yesterday, if you didn't listen to that, go back and listen to it, which is the ultimate authority formula. These two things together are going to help you out. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Give me some feedback. I'd love to hear your comments. And without any further ado, here we go. Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm really excited about the podcast today. We're going to be covering the 7 steps to business mastery with Justin Ely. Justin is the president of the Worth Group. I've known Justin for probably going on 20 years now. And we're going to do an extended podcast, and we're going to dive deep into the 7 steps that you need to go through to really optimize the revenue and the success of your business. We're going to be going through mindset. We're going to be going through strategy, through marketing, sales, growth strategies, even wealth and money principles. You definitely don't want to miss this episode. Justin is an expert author. He's written a book. He's a really great guy, and you're going to get a lot of content today. So look forward to talking with you on the episode. Let's go ahead and get into it. Here we go. Okay, welcome back to the Daily Mastermind. We are here today with Justin Ely. Justin, welcome to the Mastermind.
Hey, thanks, George. How you doing?
Oh, man, this is great. I've been looking forward to this for a while, and as I mentioned before, Justin, who is the president of the Worth Group, we've come together. We've known each other for, man, how long's it been? Maybe 17 years, 20 years?
Long time, man.
A long time. But we've come together and put together this 7-step formula for business mastery, which I'm super excited to share today. We can't get into a ton of detail, but we're going to go real high level and cover some nuggets. But maybe give me just a real quick, how did this kind of come together and why did we develop the 7-step formula? Give me your take on that for the audience here.
Sure. Yeah. So, as you know, George, I've owned a lot of businesses. We've worked with a lot of businesses as, advisors, mentors, and so forth. And, for me, I'm a guy that likes systems, and I know you do too.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. And it just seems like, every business that I've worked with, every business that we've dealt with, or, individually, it seems like there's certain things that always need to be in place, certain things that need to happen in order for that business to be successful. And oftentimes, business owners aren't putting the whole package together. Whether it's, and we'll get into this, but whether it's, their mindset and their strategy in the beginning of the business, or whether it's, how they're preparing to exit, or what they're doing with their time and their money at the end of their, and, and everything else in between.
Yeah, and I think as I mentioned in the intro for this particular session that we did, I really think now, having worked with companies, either our own companies or clients that have done over $1 billion in sales, there's a lot of holes in the boat with a lot of businesses, and they don't begin with the end in mind. But this is a pretty comprehensive, this 7-step formula that I'm excited to share today and have you go through with us goes with everything from the mindset to wealth mastery and everything in between. So without any further ado, let's jump right into it. So what I want to do is we're going to go through this 7-step formula. And it lines up pretty nicely because it's 7 M's, which is, mindset, mapping, marketing, monetizing, mastery, money. And we're going to go through all these steps right now, but let's go ahead and I'll kind of drive them through the steps, and then you can kind of get into some detail. And I know we don't have enough time to go into all the training because this is a full-on masterclass course. I also know this is something you do with a lot of the business owners that you mentor,
Right.
But let's give as much strategy and tactics as we can as well. So let's start with mindset. So the first step in this 7-step formula is mindset. This is developing your clarity, your focus, your discipline to really create your best life. So tell me, what does that involve? Like, what is it, that step?
Yeah. So mindset, obviously, in order to, move forward and make positive things happen, you've got to have your mind. Your outcome is controlled by your actions, and your actions are controlled by your thoughts. And so, when I'm mentoring someone or I'm working with someone, the first thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that their head's on straight, that they have a good positive attitude. I think we've all been in that position where we've got those negative thoughts come into our head. Can we do this? Can we succeed? Are we confident in ourselves? And just making sure that, well, first understanding that we all have those thoughts, right?
Yeah.
We're all going to deal with negativity, whether it's from internally or externally from other people. And so, how do we, substitute those negative thoughts, put the positive back in,
Yeah.
keep feeling good about ourselves,
Yeah.
have that confidence. So it's
Confidence is huge, because confidence for a lot of people is what holds them back. And as you know, a lot of the high achievers that we work with, they have a very, very confident mindset.
right.
And I agree with you, because I know when we get into the master class of things we're doing with this, we cover everything from, clearly your thoughts create your life, but we talk about that belief cycle that, your thoughts are going to reflect your actions, which are going to create results and create things going. We're also going to be talking about, what you're doing to clarify your, your overall disciplines and daily rituals and things that you do on a day-to-day. But wouldn't you agree that really mindset is probably one of the most important things in business? I mean, without the mindset, all the strategies really aren't going to get done.
Absolutely. I mean, you've got to believe in yourself. You've got to believe in your business. You've got to believe in your product or
Yeah.
your service.
Yeah.
Right. And again, it's, those negative thoughts are always going to creep in.
It's funny, because so many people, they act as if, right? And they say they believe things, but I always find that if your actions don't match your beliefs, in other words, you're not doing the action, it's really doubtful you believe it. So if you can't get your beliefs under control and your thoughts, then
Right.
you're messed up. So mindset's key. The second step is mapping. Now, this is strategy. So this is defining and creating your vision, your mission, your roadmap to success. So what's involved in this particular step with mapping? Once you got your mindset right and you start with your strategy, your mapping, what's that involved?
Right. Yeah. And George, most people just don't know where they're going. Right.
That's
They,
true.
they don't.
That's
They
true.
don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we hear this a lot, but it's defining your why, and understanding why you're doing what you're doing. So it's like, okay, you're in business, or you've decided to create a business, or you're an entrepreneur and you're starting something new. I deal with a lot of people that, they're just not getting to that. They're not getting to the end zone, right? They're not getting where they need to be because they don't know where that is.
Yeah, they don't even know where the end zone is, for
Right.
sure.
Right. And so, I think it's really important to develop a plan to know where you ultimately want to be with your business. Are you designing the business to exit? Is the goal to sell?
Right.
Is the goal to, create a legacy for your family? Is the goal just to create stream of income? What are you actually trying to accomplish so that you can design a plan and put it in place to get.
Yeah, I really like that, because it's funny, because, we talk about it a lot with personal development and business mastery, but if you don't know where you're going, you're going to have trouble getting there, right? And so when you talk about what's going to be covered in this particular step, when you really get into your strategy, there's so many things with regards to, your mission statement, your personal story, but also what drives you. This is before, because most people, they jump right into building their business, and they not only don't know where they want to go, but it may not align with who they are, like their unique talents or what they want to really accomplish impact-wise in the world. That's why so many people build businesses and they're not fulfilled with it, right? So when you begin with the right strategy and the right alignment of the strategy, I think that helps people to also have more fuel and motivation and things for their business as well, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. And I think here what a lot of people don't do is they don't really go deep with this. they get really surfacey.
Yeah.
Right? Like you'll hear people say, well, I want to make $1 million, or,
Yeah.
I want to buy a Ferrari, right? Or the really surfacey things, and they don't really dig deep and get into the why behind them. It's like, well, why do you want?
Yeah.
What does that mean to you?
Yeah.
Does that mean time and vacations with your family?
Yeah.
Does that mean that you're able to, do something with your kids that you might not be doing now?
Yeah.
Like what is the meaning behind it?
Yeah.
And really dive into that so that so that when you wake up every day, it's not, I don't just want $1 million. I want $1 million because.
Yeah. That depth is key because I think so many people, especially entrepreneurs, have heard know your why. And it's vision. I mean, it's fuel by having your vision, it's your fuel. But it really, if you're not aligned, you're not going to have the fulfillment. You're not going to have the passion. And when I say alignment, I'm talking about things we mentioned on the podcast before, like your unique talent, your impact, your stuff you have purpose and passion behind. So I like that, but I also like what you said when you said, what's your goal? Like, do you want to have an exit? Do you want to build a business that is free from you having to manage it all the time? Or do you want to have an operation as a physical business, a virtual business?
Mhm.
So strategy is really huge. And I do think a lot of people begin their business and they never really get back and create the strategy. So I think that's a masterful point. And I think that is something that's critical. So mapping your business, that's the second step. The third one is marketing. Now, marketing, I know, is like one of your real passions. We both have been in marketing for quite a while. But this idea of identifying, targeting, and attracting leads to grow your business and brand, that's a whole masterclass, a whole workshop in and of itself. But at a high level, talk to me about what this step really requires from a marketing standpoint. What's involved with the marketing?
Yeah, good question, George, and you're right. I could spend days, I think, on this topic. So,
Sure.
overall, I think most business owners have just a general misunderstanding of, how and where their marketing dollars are being spent.
Yeah.
And so, I try to break it down and make things pretty simple. When I think of marketing, I really think of three things, and that is, defining your market.
Okay.
Who is your target audience? And that, geographically, demographically, what type of, affinity relationships is your market involved with? Then I think of the messaging. Okay, so once we've defined the market, what is the message that we're going to create that's going to go out to them? And creating that message, we get into things like, helping clients and create what we call their market dominating position.
Right.
Developing a core story around their business and their product and their service that, everybody in their organization is going to know and represent.
Right.
So that's consistent and deliverable. And then, we also, the next step would be thinking about the media. So now that we've got, we've defined the market, we have our message, what types of media are we going to use to convey that message? And again, there's all types of media that we can cover. Again, we could spend hours going down.
Well, you've got a lot of depth in here too, because I'm looking through some of the curriculum that you generally go with when you're mentoring with individuals. And, obviously finding your avatar and your market is so key with marketing. So many people go out there and try to just sell whatever they need to rather than identifying who it is that they're working with. But I love how you go into depth with message and this idea of having your market dominating position, the core story. Individuals really need to drive deep into that because it's sort of like anything else. When you put the foundation and structure of the business in place right, the rest will happen. So as you start to roll out your media, and right now, it used to be that we were doing events where we were dropping 1 million pieces of direct mail a week. We were doing radio, TV. But now, social media, content marketing, direct mail, telesales, all these different mediums that you can use for driving marketing in your business. A lot of people don't even understand that it's a science in all those areas, wouldn't you say? I mean,
it can be totally overwhelming.
It overwhelming, but also they think it's obvious and it's not, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are all details that people need to look at. So I like what you said. You basically have in marketing this idea of your market, your message, and your media.
I know you use this analogy of a triangle. Those are the three things that are the core, most important things in marketing, right?
So,
Okay.
mhm.
Okay, so step 4, so that's step 3. So now we've talked about mindset, we've talked about strategy, which is mapping,
Mhm.
and we've talked about marketing. Now what happens is monetizing, which is sales. This is a thing a lot of people kind of shy away from, but in sales, it's building, developing, and optimizing your sales process to create the most revenue.
Mhm.
So what is involved in sales? Like, talk to me a little bit about this whole idea of monetizing.
Yeah. So, when we think of sales, I know that most people are going to just think of, sales training, right?
Yeah.
Sales techniques. There's all kinds of books that have been written about how to sell. But, what I always try to dive into is I like to go back to the beginning, right? And I think, when it comes to sales, it's people first.
Okay.
Who are your salespeople? For a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, if they're smaller, it's themselves,
Yep.
right? But it's like, okay, so what is the right person in place to make the sale? You need to have a sales team that also
Got it.
has the right mindset and the right systems in place. So, are you hiring the right people? What does the hiring process look like? What does your onboarding process look like for your company? Typically, that's, going to be what happens in the first 2 weeks to get that salesperson excited, knowledgeable, and up to speed with
And this is
product and
whether
services.
someone's got in-house sales or even they're outsourcing. These are skills they need to understand. These are things they need to have in place, right?
Absolutely.
For processes.
Yeah.
You're a process guy.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, keep going.
Um, you know, then what happens after that onboarding process? What is your ongoing training system look like? I mean, there's a lot of studies that have shown that, your happiest salespeople are getting constant training, constant nurturing within the organization so that they can improve their skill.
Got it.
Um, culture, is a
Especially with sales. Yeah,
yeah.
right.
I mean, what does your internal company culture look like?
Okay.
Does your sales team feel appreciated? Do they have the tools? Do they have the technology that it takes for them to be successful? Compensation. Are they being
That's a huge one.
compensated for
Yeah.
it? Right. So all of these things come into this, category of monetization that we.
Well, and I'll tell you, sales obviously is what makes or breaks a company, right? Like, you got to have revenue.
Right.
And even a lot of these types of things you got to cover are whether they're online or individual, but we are talking about monetizing leads. We're talking about creating revenue for the company. And I know that with regards specifically to salespeople, it's such a delicate deal to deal with salespeople, whether it's in your company or externally. And there's so many intricacies that I know you've learned over time because you've had thousands of salespeople, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's important. I really like that. And I want to highlight it's not, you hear hiring right? But it's not just about bringing on the right salespeople, but it's also about having the right systems and training, onboarding, support in place. And then those little factors of compensation as well as culture, they make or break a sales team, like
Oh,
long term, right?
absolutely.
I mean, we've had sales teams that have had, guys that are just massive performers, and it's probably completely contributed to compensation, culture, things like that, right?
Right.
So,
Yep.
and so that's going to make or break the company. Monetization is key. All right, so now once you've got your mindset, you've got your strategy, you've got your marketing to create and optimize leads, you're monetizing those leads.
Mhm.
Then we get into a pretty exciting area, and this is actually one of the ones that most people actually start with, but without the background, right? And that is momentum. And that's using strategies and tactics to grow your business. You hear about things like creating sales funnels or doing all kinds of techniques and strategies. So this is kind of a sexy one, but let's assume the other stuff is put in place. When you talk about momentum and growth strategies, what does that mean? Like, what do people need to cover when it comes to that?
Good question. So when you're talking about momentum, the things that come to mind for me are it's what's really important, right? So in a business, what's really important? Your leads, your conversions, your transactions, your pricing, and your profit.
Okay.
That's really
Okay.
what it all comes down to, right? So, when we've done the work and we've put the other things in place, right? We've done our marketing, we've done our sales. Now we focus on the momentum. And we want to, make sure that we're spending our time as a business owner focusing on those key factors. It's kind of like as a business owner, we're spending our time, we're having meetings, right? We're doing trainings, we're doing all of these different things. And so you and I have talked about the 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like you spend 20% of your time working on things that produce 80% of the result.
Yeah. And most people actually spend time on the 80% that only create 20% of the results, right?
Right.
Opposite.
So as a business owner, if I was looking at how I'm allocating my time and I'm going, okay, that 20% of my week that's going to create 80% of my results, what am I going to think about? And it's going to be leads, conversions, transactions, pricing, and profit.
Yeah.
And how do I dive into those 5 categories and tweak and improve each one?
That's great because those are the levers, right? Like, so as we talk about metrics, and you guys hear me talk on the podcast a lot about KPIs or key performance indicators, it really, all the noise can be put aside. It all boils down to what Justin is saying, which is you have these 5 levers you can pull. You can get more leads, you can get more conversions, you can get more transactions, you can, move your pricing and increase your profits. That's really all it's about. And when you analyze those, and I think it's just as important to track those as it is to, move those levers, then it really becomes a science. Business becomes a science. So let me ask you, just real practical, because we have a couple minutes here. What can you give us some examples of strategies that you would use to pull those levers? Like, what are some, because I know you've got these, you talk a lot about these 8 growth strategies that you've had.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the actual strategies that people can use to pull those levers as an example? Or maybe there's one in particular you could give us that maybe people could use in their business.
Good question, George. So, I've got a book that I've written called Show Me the Profits, and it's got 8 simple strategies in the book that talk about things a business owner can do right now.
Yeah.
To pull some of these levers,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, joint venturing,
That's a great one.
is something that you can do. Cross-selling, downselling, upselling, those are all things that can be implemented that a lot of people forget about.
No, well, not only, and I'll mention, it's funny because I had a business that I've been working with recently, and they're doing hundreds of millions of dollars with a certain supplement product. But this reminds me of examples like Dollar Shave Club and others that have a simple product, but just by cross-selling, when we talk about that, we're talking about other products you could sell that are not in that same category, or upselling more of what you already sell. These are all strategies that a lot of people leave on the table. They're out looking for new leads, but there's so many ways to monetize the leads you already have.
Sure.
By upselling additional products, cross-selling other bundling products, right? Checkout bundles and things like that. Those are strategies. And would you say that a lot of businesses, do very many businesses implement these types of strategies? From your experience?
It's yes and no, George. I mean, there's a lot of companies that I've worked with that it's surprising they don't. You brought up Dollar Shave Club. Totally makes sense that they would sell shaving cream. With their razors.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we all know the big upsell, which is, do you want fries with that?
Right. That's
Right.
true. Restaurant
We've
business.
all heard that. So,
and yet some companies that have these products, they don't even think about adding or bundling or upselling other products. So that's huge.
So,
and that can double, triple your profits, revenues, and things, because you don't have to acquire another customer to get it. You're just adding more product, more profit.
Yeah, even raising prices can be a trend.
That's true. Most people are afraid to raise prices when that simple strategy by itself blows their mind when they do it, and then they create more profit. Even if it reduces the number of customers you have, but your margins increase dramatically, actually your business requires less stress too, because less customers. I love that. So, so these are all momentum strategies. Obviously, we can't cover all of those today because we're short on time. And that was the 5th step, was this momentum. Now, step 6 is mastery. And mastery This is that step that you kind of talk about is creating freedom by using the right people, resources, technology, and tools. And I know it's a lot about people. So explain to me what you mean when you say, mastery as a step for your business.
Well, to me, mastery is now you're at a point in your business where you're creating the efficiencies and you're taking some of your time back as a business owner,
Yeah.
because time is one of your, well, probably is your most valuable asset,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so when I think of strategies, I think of team, having the right team
Yep.
in place
Yep.
to execute your mission.
Okay.
Tools, having the right tools in place and the right technology in place. Because nowadays, there's a lot of technology that's out there that can create those efficiencies for a growing business.
Yeah.
When you were new or in the beginning or when you didn't have the budget, you weren't able to apply.
Yeah.
And so, when I think mastery, I think of, okay, now it's time to master my business, turn the screws of the dials, make sure that I've got everything dialed in, everything's operating, running efficiently. Are there costs that we can cut? Is there technology that needs to be added? Are there things that we can do within our company? Again, back to that culture
Yep.
that we mentioned earlier. Are there things that we can do culturally within our company to enhance,
Yep.
you know, our employees and how do they enjoy coming to work? Right?
Yeah.
Is it fun? Are we thriving? So when we get into that mastery, I think that's when we're looking at all of those fine tuning.
Yeah. I love the perspective you put on it though, because obviously if you do it right and you go through the steps with strategy and marketing and create all these systems, it's going to be much easier for you to be able to optimize your business when you get to this point. But when you mention time, I love that because most business owners or entrepreneurs even, the more their business grows, the more time it takes. And finding ways to systematize so that you can buy your time back is really the goal, right? We're trying to create lifestyle here.
Sure.
Having the goal of doing that. So I love how you say there's a goal behind optimizing and mastering your business. But I also like how you talk about people because I do think it's creating a level of leadership, right? We've worked with businesses before that they grow and then they put in systems in place, but they really haven't developed that leadership level. And when you develop your people and you create leaders, you can step away from you can step back a bit and they're going to pick up the ball and run with it, pick up the baton, right? So leadership is key, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And this part of mastery, I think this is a good time to invest in your.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And make sure that those people are ready to run the business on your back, right?
Yeah, because you don't want to be running. I mean, the whole goal here of a business owner is not to, be handcuffed to his business, right?
Absolutely. And another point that I want to make with mastery is, also, becoming the industry expert, as the business owner, as the CSO.
Yeah.
You could almost create another business by becoming the industry expert in whatever you're doing. Now you've become that go-to guy, right? Where people within that industry are coming to you for help and knowledge and assistance and, mentoring. And
what I love about your outline and with these 7 steps is if you're doing it right and you're systematizing along the way, you're really creating systems that you can ultimately train and educate people on as well. So you're almost creating that infrastructure and structure for a business in itself.
Right.
So I love that. Okay, so now the last step, and this is one I really love. This is one that I think is so critical. Sometimes you begin with this in mind before you set things up, but people don't do, and that's money. It's creating true wealth. It's the whole reason we create revenue with business. And this is applying advanced strategies to grow and protect your wealth. And I think it's important to note here, there are strategies that the wealthy use, that successful business owners and investors use that have proven over and over again to help accelerate your wealth and protect it, right? So talk to me about money. And it's interesting with business why you add this, why this was something we put in. What is it? Like, what is money? When we talk about money, mastering money.
Right. And well, the reason why this has been put in is because, I know that you have watched a lot of people build some big companies.
Oh, yeah.
and so have I. And at the end of the day, there's nothing there.
Yeah, I've even had that with multiple businesses of mine. It's like, unless you use this step in the process, you're not creating wealth. You just have revenue and income and debt or expenses. You're not creating wealth.
Right.
And sometimes it's easier to save money on your taxes or reduce, protection than to go create it in revenue. So yeah, so what's included in this? When you say wealth and strategy, like what is that?
Well, so it's a combination of things, right? Like having the right tax structures in place, like having the right corporate structures in place, asset protection planning, insurance. How are you paying people within your organization? How are you paying yourself? 1099 versus W-2. Are you implementing IRAs, 401ks? Rent versus purchase. I mean, there's all of these different things that come into play that you've got to be thinking about as you go through this journey.
Yeah,
And we're kind of going back to the mindset and mapping here. Right?
for sure.
What are your ultimate goals? And what does that mean? Is your business just a, short-term revenue stream, or are you building a destiny? Are you creating a plan that you're going to retire wealthy?
Yeah.
And so, we happen to have access to a lot of companies, a lot of organizations that are experts at setting up insurance plans, setting up asset protection plans, creating tax strategies and corporate structures. And,
Right.
I've gotten pretty good over the years, as you know,
Yeah.
in guiding people, down the right path and to the right organizations and people that can help put that.
I think you're right, because look, when it comes to money, there is a huge mindset piece around it. But what the fact of the matter is this: most people work for money. They don't allow money to work for them.
Right.
And unless you master money in general, you're never going to be able to have leverage. Ultimately, you want to move from trying to create and get money to having money work for you. And if you don't apply strategies that are proven, I mean, we've got access to the former senior prosecuting attorneys of the IRS. How do you structure your business? Is it an LLC or corporation? How do you implement certain strategies to invest? I mean, we even go into depth into areas like, stock, real estate, asset protection, Forex, foreign exchange, crypto. There's a lot of things that people need to understand with money, and I think it is very important. Sometimes you almost want them to start with that, but we've got to obviously create some momentum for people too. So
yeah,
I get it.
So it's one thing to make the money, but then you need to learn how to keep.
You got to keep it, and I love leverage. That's great too. So, all right, so we're down on time, and there's so much. I mean, that's why this is obviously so important. And I just want to do a quick review of these steps. So you start with mindset, and then you go into mapping and strategy. Then you go into marketing, which is really critical, right? Then you monetize with sales. Then you have your momentum, and then your growth strategies, and then you get into your mastery, and then money. And these are the 7 steps. And the reason I thought it was so critical to have you come on and outline this with people is there are maybe 1, 2, 4, or all of these steps that people are missing. But these are after, decades of working with businesses, doing over $1 billion in sales. This is the most comprehensive formula for covering your business that I've found. And so I really appreciate you going through this. And look, I know, because we're short on time, I know you've developed a full masterclass, and I know that this literal formula is what you use when you mentor CEOs and businesses and things like that already. You go in and you find the holes and where you need to supplement and this is how you grow businesses. So what I'm wondering is, like, for the mastermind and for them in general, where can they start? Like, where would you recommend they go? What can we do for them to kind of get them started on this path with these 7 steps? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, good question. So, a good way to connect with us right now would be, we mentioned the book, Show Me the Profits, earlier in the podcast.
Yeah.
So you can simply go to showmetheprofits.com. You can get a free copy of that book. It gives you 8 simple strategies that you can implement right away to start increasing your revenue in your business. George and I are both on LinkedIn. It's a good way to connect. But yeah, that's a great way.
I actually love that because, even though we know you need to start with your mindset and you need to go through these steps, one of the quickest, simplest ways for you to create revenue is to apply some of these growth strategies. And you wrote an amazing book. This book is called Show Me the Profits. I mentioned it before. Justin's mentioned it. It literally has specific growth strategies you can do in your business today. In fact, it's strategies that you've used in less than an hour to help businesses find thousands of dollars in immediate revenue. So
Yeah.
if you go to showmetheprofits.com, you can get a free copy of that book. That's awesome. And I think you even offer like a free consult so they can get on the phone with you for a few minutes and just kind of, if they have any
Absolutely.
question. I mean, depending on the schedule, right? They
Yeah.
can book an appointment with you. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So great. Well, that's all the time we have for today. But the reason I thought this was so critical is over the next and upcoming weeks, Justin's going to come back and we're going to each week have a session where we deep dive into these 7 steps. So we covered a few things today, but what we want to do over the next upcoming weeks is go into some specific strategies in each of these areas. Let's talk about your avatar and your market. Let's talk about your message and offer. Let's talk about your sales scripting. Let's talk about your specific money strategies. So we're going to go into depth over this. It'll probably be more than 7 weeks, but we're going to go weekly and deep dive into these. But for now, give us some feedback. Hit me up on the Daily Mastermind on Facebook or Instagram. If you haven't already, hit like and subscribe on the podcast. And, share this episode. Share it with someone. We don't have any sponsors on the show. We do it strictly through word of mouth. So share the show. Go to Show Me the Profits. Get a copy of the book. And anyway, thanks for having you on the show today. This was great, man.
Thanks. I look forward to going through the steps.
It's gonna be some deep dive. So anyway, that's the message for today. I hope you have an amazing day. Remember, it's never too late to start living the life that you're meant to live. So you just got to get after it. My name is George Wright III, and this has been the Daily Mastermind. Have a great day.